Pacific Ocean, which you love so well. Good night, sweet prince. Oh shit, dude, I'm sorry.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. I trust that you're all doing very well. In today's analysis, we're going to be getting into the Bitcoin charts. As usual, also taking a look at the altcoins that you guys have been requesting, such as Ethereum, Chainlink, Solana. We'll go through the XRP charts today. We'll go through the Polkadot charts. We've had some nice trades on those, so I want to give you guys updates on them and go through the momentum, of course, the key regions, and all of the good stuff. So make sure that you stay tuned for today's video, and without any further ado, let's get right into it. So starting off here on the hourly time frame for Bitcoin, since we have focused on those high time frames, since really the high time frames have been in an uptrend, they've given us some very nice opportunities based on longing the dips that we have seen on the lower time frames. So we're going to take a look at these lower time frames starting off here. And so based on the 1 hour time frame this morning, we did have, or this afternoon, we did have some nice bearish divergences start to set in after we had a very nice rise. Now, of course, where do we have a rise from, guys? This is our high time frame order block. As you can see, a very big region. This is a very big zone. And of course, this zone was very key for us because it came at a major level. This actually came back in May when we did have our dip to the downside. So this order block was where we stopped at multiple times on the 10th of August, on the 13th, on the 23rd, hitting the EQ off the order block. So ultimately, it was a big level. And as the price action started to push through this level, of course, those sell orders protecting this region, the large orders in the market are going to be eaten up by the longs. And ultimately, we did end up breaking this region, gave multiple retests off this region, and gave a very nice resistance support flip by dipping into this region, taking out any stops that were here, and of course, setting in another high low before continuing through to the upside. So even if you did take this trade, let's say you took it just at the top of the order block, which we've been discussing for the past really few weeks and months potentially, we have been looking at the this is a 2.6% move to the upside. So what we want to look at now is, of course, the next region that has been broken, which is the resistance that we faced before our dip to the downside yesterday, which was our new weekly R1. So that is at $52,176. Of course, it is not as important as a high time frame level, such as the bearish order block that we have, which is now turned into a demand zone. We would be looking at this as the next kind of short-term support, which we are back on now. So at $52,176, this is the bearish divergence playing out and coming back to the breakout zone. So of course, that does constitute potentially some low risk trades depending on how you look at it. I did end up picking up long positions yesterday as we started to see this nice reaction. Of course, this morning we had a short setup with the bearish divergences as well. If we go on to our 15-minute, we had hit our daily R1 here at $52,891. Knowing that we have bearish divergences on the hourlies, we can look for this dip to the daily pivot, which is a very big area each and every day for us. So hitting that at 52,216, and that's exactly where we are bouncing from right now. So I'd say as for a 1 hour divergence, that has more or less played out, as this is still a move from the R1, and not even counting the wicks or anything here. From the R1 to the pivot, that's a 1.3% move, so I would be happy with that. But it is very important that we do not start to close back below here, let's say on a 1 hour closing basis, or even on the lower time frames, more importantly with volume, below the $52,216 region. Closing back below here and ultimately gaining that volume to the downside, I'd be targeting the S1 at $51,541. But if we are able to hold above the daily pivot, then a move back to the highs is likely. So those are just some very low time frame stuff. I know you guys aren't intraday traders, so it doesn't really quite matter to you. So we want to go through the daily. Now, the daily is still setting in some divergences, but as I've talked to you guys about multiple times here, and even yesterday, as we saw those divergences start to set, basically even here, right, on the 3rd of September, for example, and yesterday we were showing a little bit more divergence, but what we said was we want to wait for these divergences to actually confirm first before going into short positions, because we have been in quite a large uptrend. If you've been following along with the videos, we looked for a higher low to be set in here and started to add even more positions at $37,000. And so riding the trend is typically going to work out much better for people as opposed to just trying to short every single high. Of course, you can have short positions on the lower time frames. That is completely fine. But for me, I want to see, even if we have multiple drives of divergence, I want to see the divergence confirm. I want to see a clear level be broken before going short. So let's say, for example, right here, let's put on our exponential moving averages. We know that the 21 EMA is typically the region we're going to be riding to the upside and finding support on the daily time frame if we are in a daily uptrend. Now, sometimes we can break this region. However, at least if, let's say the 21 EMA does work its way up to the monthly R1, which is at $50,000, we start to break that $50,000 level, we start to go for a back test off that, then we can look for the short positions, let's say down to the monthly pivot or down to the last swing, higher low here. But for now, the price action has been squeezing to the upside because of the fact that everyone is trying to short the exact high, which is ultimately not going to work well, as you will be sitting in losing positions, potentially getting liquidated. And for people that do try to short every single high, typically they're not going to be using proper risk management. And the more shorts they get liquidated, the more shorts they get stopped out. They're either going to have to buy back higher, or they're going to have to just get liquidated, which just puts in more buy pressure into the market, of course. So therefore, my key support right now is monthly R1 based on the high time frame. Since you guys aren't intraday traders, that's what really matters right now. We know that this is the last big breakout level as well, because that was where we stopped on the 23rd of August, came down for two higher lows here, and on the orange 21 exponential moving average. Now, the price action is getting quite far away from the 21 EMA, and when price does get far away from the 21 EMA, just like it did here, we can really start to look for that higher low to be set in, for the next higher low to be set in, and a move back to the 21 EMA is always a nice area to be watching, since it is a low period EMA. So therefore, the 21 EMA is very important to me. Price has moved up quite aggressively and hasn't tested that just yet, so I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. Of course, it's going to be slowly moving its way to the upside, and therefore that may give us another higher low opportunity based on the high time frames, meaning a bigger spike down than what we have seen based on the lower time frames. If we go into our stochastic here on the 1 day, still looking good. Actually just moved into the critical zone. It did move into the critical zone right here. This is typically going to give us another move up, but it's going to be very important for today's price action to actually get continuation, because if we are to lose the lower time frame support regions that we spoke about, then this will eventually start to turn back to the downside. The next major resistance here based on the pivots is going to be the monthly R2 at $53,216. If we just take a zoomed out view of this, we have already spoken about the next higher time frame target, the really major area. So getting rid of our EMA, so I can clean the chart up for you guys a little bit. We can see that right here around this region, we will have the point of control coming in around 57,858. I want to see that monthly R2 broken, then I will be targeting that region. But ultimately, since we do have acceptance back into the value area low, that's going to give us quite nice probabilities of moving up to that region. And that is why, once again, you can see the value area low that we found acceptance back into. The all-time high range is exactly at $49,802. And that is around the key support region that I just spoke about at $50,000. So we want to see that held. And since that is held, at least thus far, I don't have any major bearish thoughts to be talking about here on the high time frames. Just going off market structure, we want to be looking at these factors here. So that's really about it for Bitcoin. I think I've spoken about mainly everything that I want to speak about here. Now let's move on to the Link USD charts. Link USD doing fantastic. Yesterday, as I was uploading my video, we hadn't actually hit that $35 target. We were at resistance on the lower time frames. But what I said was, ultimately, I just think that the price is looking good. So therefore, since we have broken the accumulation range here, we didn't break market structure, I have to be looking at my next target, and there's no other way about it. That's just how I trade. I have to wait for those targets to be met. I cannot be looking at just a reversal at any point in the chart just because I think or someone said that things are looking bearish, right? We want to be going off proper analysis here. And even though I will be wrong at times, that is what's going to give us the best long-term growth of our accounts. Of course, not financial advice, but yesterday, if you did watch the video, we did end up moving up quite nicely up to this target at $35.77. Even if you've been watching the videos since we've been at $20, our next major target was $30.38. We had a 20% rejection from this region, almost, and then our next major target, before we had even hit this, there was two targets. It was at $30.57, which we had a 20% rejection, then once again at $35.77. So my two major targets have been hit now, so we can do some new analysis to see where the charts are going to be lying here. So we've had a 5% rejection here. Of course, as a scalp trader, as an intraday trader, you can be looking for short positions here as well, but it's a main take profit area for long positions. Now, for the high time frames here, what I want to see is ultimately the market structure, of course, held. I want to start to see closures back above my key resistance, the monthly R3 and the $36 region. Well, $36 is the monthly R3, and then $35.77 is going to be the swing highs. Right now, we've had a sweep off the highs. So what does that mean? That means we've had a failure swing pattern off the highs. We've taken out the liquidity from the 27th of May, and we've closed back below it. And therefore, that gives us a, if you were trading this, of course, not long-term holders, but if you were trading this, which is what I focus on, you would be looking for potentially a swing failure pattern, which means stop loss going at the highs and looking for that short to ride it down a little bit further. Personally, I have not taken this trade, but looking at this region, that is a very, very clear setup that we have at the moment. So closing back above those highs, that will be a very great start. And then I would be targeting moves back up to around $41, just above that $40 level. So why are we looking at this? This is a nice daily horizontal. We did have a nice move above this, and then a bounce up to the all-time high. So that makes it the next critical region. And of course, we have hit quite near there, but I would be targeting with closures above here. That's where I would be targeting. Now, for the key support, I would be setting the monthly R1 here, very short term, because that's where we had our last impulse to the upside. A few candles here. We have a daily horizontal here as well, but more importantly, the monthly R1 at $29.94 based on the higher time frames. So that is about it for Link, Ethereum, USD. Let's go into the Coinbase chart. This has made a fantastic move up. Of course, we know that we had an accumulation range here, which did end up breaking to the upside. And in a massive uptrend, when you do have a range forming, at least for me, I just look at it as a reaccumulation range until proven otherwise. And we spoke about how it could be proven otherwise, which was breaking the last higher lows, which did not happen here. We were creating higher highs and higher lows still. So therefore, continuation to the upside from our $3,100 region, the main area of resistance here, and now moving up and hitting near this daily horizontal. So we have been smashing targets on the way to the upside, but around $4,075, and more importantly, the monthly R3 here, $4,162. That is where we want to see regain. That is the next major area for Ethereum. So we're going to go ahead and put it on our charts as well and save this, because this is the next major resistance. We see another daily horizontal right above the monthly R3, which just adds more confidence to this. So around $4,075 to $4,175 is going to be the next major zone for Ethereum. I would not mind a little bit of a pullback to actually set in a higher low, because we have moved up quite aggressively. Pullbacks and consolidations in an uptrend is ultimately going to be healthy for the market. So we see the 21 EMA getting quite far away from price action at the moment. That would be a region I'm going to be watching, just like Bitcoin, for further entries, further low risk entries to ride the uptrend to the upside. And if we are to break it below the monthly R1, it wouldn't change anything, because that's at 3,500. Even though it is far away from price action, it wouldn't change anything, because our last major high or low is around $3,100, as we've spoken about. So really want to see where the reaction comes in at major levels, which is the monthly R1, the monthly R2, to be able to gauge a little bit of a next entry into the market. So I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on that if we were to have a pullback, which at this point, since the 21 EMA is quite far away, I wouldn't put it past a little bit of a pullback to get those entries. Just another opportunity. So going on to the Ethereum Link we've done, let's go on to Sol USD here. Sell USD, fantastic. Hitting the monthly R3, of course, at $189. Has hit a few of our targets right now. This is still in all-time high territory, so therefore we want to go ahead and pull a negative Fibonacci level here. I want to be going from this region to the next major high, where we did have at least a little bit of a range form, and that would give us the next target of around -2 at $205. But remember, we have hit just below that major psychological level, the $200 region. We've hit our -1.618 target. We've hit our monthly R3 target. So right now, once again, if Solana was to have a pullback, because we haven't moved up quite aggressively, I would be looking for a range to form or a higher low to be set in order to get in once again. I think this is definitely at least a nice take profit area, especially on leverage trades. That's just my personal opinion. Of course, not financial advice, but that's what I would be looking at. It does look like we're really trying to push this R3 here. But the Stoke is looking very hot. The RSI setting in multiple drives of bearish divergence on the way to the upside. So therefore, a pullback will just be another buying opportunity, in my personal opinion. We've had many of our targets met, so I don't have too much to say about this, to be honest, right now. XRP USD, let's take a look at that. XRP USD will go onto our Binance chart. We've beautifully taken out the anchored VWAP once again from the all-time highs, getting continuation. You guys know this is one of the trades that I showed you guys that I'm swing long on, and I've told you that I'm staying swing long on most of these altcoins. But these are some take profit areas for me. As we're starting to reach resistance, I would like to see the 1.5 region as long as the monthly R1 is held. This is a region that we do not want to see broken back to the downside. Doesn't mean it'll be the end of the world, as we do have higher lows still set in. Our last high low is 109 if you're trading off the market structure, which is fine for us in swing trades. But with the breakout that we've had, if you're trading the breakout, you don't want to be seeing closures, opening closures back below the monthly R1, as that is in confluence with the last breakout point coming in from the 15th of August, where we did find resistance, came back for a range. Now we've broken it. We want to see this held. This is a beautiful retest offered at the moment. Resistance turning into support. So therefore, we don't want to see closures back below there. If we do, I'd be looking for at least moves down to 120, which is the 21 EMA on the daily, and also the anchored VWAP here on from the all-time highs. Now let's move on. What did I say? We're going to take a look at Polkadot, of course. Polkadot is another beautiful one here. Polkadot giving us a move from the 21 EMA. So simply back to the 21 EMA on the 27th of August, giving you multiple entries, 1, 2, 3, and from there we have moved up around 49%. And so therefore, this would be a nice, at least take profit of one area. In my personal opinion, we've already hit some of our high time frame regions we've spoken about. So most definitely, I mean, I took profits or some profits, as I had already shown you guys, even here. So that's a 29.82, for example, because this is a weekly region. So I want to take some profits. We did end up dipping from that region around 22%. So that was quite good, but then still holding the rest of the position. You can always add back into it. Let's say the next major weekly area would be around $39. So yeah, that's where I would be looking at on the daily, on the weekly, based on the levels. And just looking at the pivots that we set in on the lows, this was a beautiful setup. And now the RSI has regained the moving average. The moving average for the first time since our dip to the downside, since literally March, it is gaining a positive slope. So I want to see this with a positive slope, and the RSI looks very, very nice right now, actually working its way into the bullish control territory. So on the higher time frames, guys, all the cryptos right now are looking good. Can they turn? Yes, of course. And if they do turn, then we get to look at support loss, look at distribution to be able to make decisions based on the turning of the market and to be able to get in on those short positions. But for now, for the way I trade, basically swing trades, I want to be staying long. I want to be on the side of the trend until I see more and more weakness. I do believe some choppy action is going to be coming up here in September still. I don't believe that we're just going to be mooning to the upside straight away, because that's not typically what happens, but they will give us more opportunities, in my personal opinion. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. Go ahead and leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe to the channel. Helps the videos get out there. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope that you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's one.